Practical Anarchy, A Guide to Self-Determination. Dickie Dredd. Chapter 6, Religion and Authority. Part 47, Introduction, Faith, Power and Control. Religion, like the state and money, is a system of authority. It's not the same in every form. Christian dogma, Buddhist practice, pagan ritual and Islamic law each carry their own histories and contradictions, but across cultures one pattern recurs. Religion provides stories of order, authority and obedience, often linked to hierarchy and control. In Chapter 2, we touched on the role of religion in shaping the state. God and the state was not only Buchanan's provocation but historical reality, as monarchs and governments long claimed divine sanction for their rule. Where money disciplines through debt and the state disciplines through law and violence, religion disciplines through belief. It promises salvation, community or transcendence, but often under the condition of obedience to priests, imams, rabbis or sacred texts. In Islamic history, debates about leadership illustrate the tension between authority and community. Should guidance rest with a caliph, understood as a political successor to the prophet, or with an imam, a spiritual leader with a particular tradition? Or does ultimate authority lie with the ummah, the community of believers itself? These competing models reflect the same struggle found in other religions, where the power flows from above or is rooted in a collective responsibility. Standard references record the nuance of these terms in their meanings in Arabic. Not all traditions lead on hierarchy. Paganism, Taoism, and strands of Buddhism often blur authority, dissolve rigid rules, or emphasize cycles and balance. Yet the dominant Western monotheisms, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, tend to echo the logic of the state: one God, one truth, one authority. This chapter does not deny that religion can offer meaning, solidarity, or resistance. Liberation theology in Latin America or Buddhist peace movements in Asia have been allies of the oppressed. But anarchism asks us to look at structure, not sentiment. When religion is tied to money, to empire, to patriarchy, and to war, it serves as a cage, no less than wage slavery or the ballot box. If Chapter 5 showed how money controls us materially, Chapter 6 will ask how religion controls us spiritually, and why both must be dismantled before freedom can be real. Section 48, a very brief history of organised religion and domination. The earliest religions were not about control, but survival, relationship and reverence. Across prehistoric Europe, Africa and the Americas, rituals were tied to turning of the seasons, the fertility of crops, the hunt and the cycles of the moon. Stone circles, burial mounds and cave paintings testify to spiritualities rooted in the land. These were not... Stop it! Sorry, cats are destroying the sofa again. These were not systems designed to extract wealth, but ways of aligning human life with the natural world. Pagan traditions that survived into classical and medieval times, from Celtic fire festivals to Slavic harvest rites, kept this orientation, celebrating reciprocity with nature rather than obedience to rulers. Over time, however, religion became increasingly entwined with power. In Mesopotamia, Egypt and Central America, priest-kings claimed authority through divine sanction, blending cosmology with taxation and war. The crown and the altar worked hand in hand. Rulers derived legitimacy from the gods, while priests gained wealth and protection from rulers. As empires expanded, religion provided both glue and weapon. The Christian Church in late Rome positioned itself as the custodian of eternal truth, and after the empire's collapse it became the backbone of feudal Europe. Bishops sat alongside princes, the Pope crowned emperors, and crusades were launched in God's name. The First Crusade, 1096, saw armies march under papal blessing to seize Jerusalem, framed as the holy duty but also as opportunity for land, plunder and power. The pattern was repeated elsewhere. Islamic caliphates fused faith with empire, with religious scholars legitimising rulers, even as rulers defended clerical authority. Hinduism in South Asia developed elaborate caste hierarchies, sanctified by religious texts, which justified social stratification for centuries. In each case, divine sanction underpinned worldly domination. Wealth was central. The medieval Catholic Church became one of Europe's largest landowners, taxing peasants through tithes and selling indulgences. Monasteries accumulated treasure while ordinary believers lived in poverty. Religion, in this sense, was not merely spiritual but profoundly economic, a mechanism for wealth extraction. Yet domination was always contested. Heretical movements such as the Cathars in France or the Hussites in Bohemia challenged clerical wealth and hierarchy, often proposing more egalitarian communal forms of life. The repression through inquisitions, burnings and crusades launched against Christians themselves showed how violently the Church defended its power. Across continents, conquest was draped in sacred language. Spanish conquistadors justified the subjugation of the Americas with the Requirimiento, a document read aloud in Spanish to people who did not understand it, that demanded indigenous peoples submit to the Pope and the Crown or face war and enslavement. Religion thus became a handmaiden of colonial domination, offering divine blessing for extraction, slavery and genocide. Not all traditions fit the mould. Eastern philosophies, such as Taoism and Buddhism, often questioned worldly power and emphasised humility, impermanence or compassion. But even these were at times co-opted. Buddhist monasteries in China and Japan became landowners, political players, and Shinto in Japan was mobilised to sanctify imperial conquest in the 20th century. The pattern is clear. While older, earth-based religions celebrated cycles of life and the seasons, organised religion, once aligned with the state and wealth, repeatedly justified hierarchy, conquest and accumulation. Crusades, inquisitions, caste systems and holy wars reveal how spiritual belief can be harnessed by elites to secure obedience. Later sections will explore how these dynamics continue in the prosperity gospel of the United States, in religious nationalism worldwide, and in the entanglement of faith with money and warfare today.